What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Now today we're going to be talking about the PlayStation Showcase which happened yesterday, the 9th of September. Now when I first saw it I was pretty taken back, I was pretty blown away by it, and I knew I had to talk about it. So I got my little platinum trophy light out, I shot it into the sky just to get someone to answer it, to talk to me about it. And these three handsome chaps all replied. So I'm joined today by Joel, also known as GuyFarruski, Steve, also known as VaultBoySteve, Tyler Baylis, also known as Tyler Baylis, the one and only. Thank you all very much for coming on and taking the time to talk to me and have people listen to your conversations about the showcase. I won't ask you how you are because we've got some serious games to talk about. So what I will say is, after watching the showcase, what games are you all most anticipated for?
Well, for me, it's obviously KOTOR. That is, beyond doubt, the childhood dream come true. It's finally here after all these years, 18 years later.
I'm gonna go. Do you know what? There's so many, man. Insomniac killed it. But that Spider-Man 2 trailer. But damn, everything about it. That the voiceover at the end of Venom. Oh my god. That rivaled Alfred Molina's entrance in the Far From Home trailer for me.
That's bold. That's bold.
I mean, come on.
It's a strong statement, man.
Yeah, mine's Spider-Man as well. It's left me very confused, but it's definitely Spider-Man. I think we need a game that Venom shows himself properly again.
Yes, I agree. For me, it was Spider-Man, but I think Spider-Man was kind of like, you knew going in you were going to see something big, and you knew it was going to be probably God of War, which was so. We're going to talk about the big ones in this video. We're going to talk about God of War, Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, KOTOR, so Knights of the Old Republic remaster. We're going to talk about Wolverine, Forspoken, and I think Wolverine was a big shock, and as was the Knights of the Old Republic remaster. I think all of them were like just out of nowhere. Randy Orton RKO'd us as viewers, and I'm looking forward to chat about it. So what we'll do is we'll start with God of War. So what's everyone's thoughts of the new gameplay, the new bit of story that we saw? Steve?
It looked almost like the old style of God of War. It was like really visceral, really high energy, chaotic combat, and that's what I really like about God of War. It went more of it was a different playstyle, right, with the remake or the reboot, so to say. So I always preferred the original hack and slash chaotic combat of it. So I'm really happy to see that coming back, personally. Although maybe last in Norse, right? It's the second game. It's already the final Norse. What's going on? I thought we can get a trilogy of that.
So so I can't remember what he's called, but he's confirmed that he has said that it's going to be the end of the Norse.
Was it Corey Barlog?
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought they were definitely going to bring out a trilogy. Yeah, definitely.
They could still do a trilogy. They were hinting about the Egyptian stuff in the first God of War, so don't know what's going on with that. Maybe
the Celtics sign was there as well.
So it could be everywhere. They're just going to round the world with Kratos.
Just destroying gods.
Every mythology is in the bag now.
Yeah, it's gonna get to the point where it explains like why nowadays most people believe in just the one god. It's just Kratos, just wipe all the other ones out.
That's a great point.
And the one god is Kratos now.
Yeah, the last person you have to fight is Jesus himself.
God of War 9 versus on water, the whole fight. As well, so Atreus, it looks like there's a bit of a time skip. Obviously, kids do grow pretty fast, but Atreus looks considerably different and looks a lot more mature.
It looks less frail as well, right?
Yeah, stronger. Yeah, he's a god, isn't he?
Yeah,
and a giant
demigod blood.
Yeah,
he's raging now.
He knows now. He knows what he is now. Anyway,
yeah,
confidence he's a hybrid.
Yeah.
What does everyone think about the combat? Because I did see a few things in it.
It looks basically more the same, and then more.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. It's basically you'll be doing the same stuff that you did in the first game, but they'll obviously add more stuff. I think there was a bit where he catches someone and does like a whip thing.
Yes,
that
he does.
Pretty cool. He uses the chains as like a grapple and stuff. So
yeah, I think God of War 2018 was pretty. I wouldn't have really faulted it, to be honest. It's kind of like, when you play something you think, I couldn't fault this, but then you see something like a sequel and you think, wow, this actually looks like quite a big jump, and I think that was what it looked like, because although it looked mostly the same, I think what I saw, which I think is a big difference, is the different levels of fighting. So you see at one point, obviously Kratos uses the Blades of Chaos to vault up to a higher level, but also there's a part where I think he throws something down, or he jumps off a ledge and starts attacking enemies lower down, so those levels of combat can make it a lot more versatile and a lot more exciting. So I think that did look pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not much different from the 2018 one, I'm going to be honest, it's not something that you look at it and you think, Jesus Christ, this is going to be completely different. I mean, but that's also not a bad thing, I don't think, because like you said, you can't really fault the 2018 one. So why would they completely change something that did?
It did look a bit more arcadey to me, maybe because it was more faster paced and the combat they showed, but it looked more like the OG ones as far as like they were going, like you said, using the Blaze of Chaos in a more arcadey way, like going over the top with the animations and stuff. But
I noticed the camera being a bit further away. Was that just me?
It did feel a bit.
Maybe it was a trailer, though. I felt like in the old one, it was more closer to the shoulder. Like you could only see his waist up. On this one, I could feel it was a bit further away. You had a lot more area that you could see. That may just be me, or it may just be when you're in combat, it pans out a bit more to give you more.
It may be hinting at a wider combat arena.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Maybe.
As well, in God of War 2018, you only actually fight a couple of gods. So you fight, we'll not say who they are because I can't remember their names anyway, but for spoilers and stuff, you only fight, I think, 3 actual gods in the game. Whereas if this is going to be the end of this Norse mythology, then you're looking at, like, it advertises Thor a lot. It's voiced by a big actor, I can't remember his name, but he is an excellent villain. So Thor's obviously going to play a big part in it, but also if it's the last Norse game, then Odin's going to be in it quite considerably. And as well, Freya plays a big part in the first game. And I think, obviously, if you finish the first game, you know what happens at the end. And I think, obviously, that set her on a path of vengeance against Kratos. And I think that she's going to play again. You have to fight her as well. So it's implying that there's going to be a lot of moving parts, a lot of protagonists in this game compared to the previous one, anyway.
And we saw Tyr right at the end.
Yeah,
it was the last one we saw. And of course, in some parts of Norse mythology, he's a son of Odin. In some parts of it, or the son of that, can't remember the name of the dog, but it's like Hema or something. So he's either the son of one of them, depending on which Norse mythology you're following.
Odin has so many kids, doesn't he, though? Like, a lot of them are his kids.
He's a shagger, right? He's all over the place.
They all are.
Can't follow him. Can't follow him. Just like the Olympians.
Yeah.
King of gods, you just spawn. I just want spawn.
So we haven't been given a date. This is the first time we've seen gameplay trailer, but they have confirmed that it's PS4 and PS5. So I think it's going to be next year, personally. What everyone else think?
I'm disappointed if it is next year. I'm just disappointed that it's coming out on both. That's all I have to say about it.
Yes, I will say it didn't look that graphically impressive, right? It looked like the old one. We just recently seen.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but I agree. I think 60 frames. God of War 2018 and 60 frames would be. I haven't played it. I don't know if there's a patch for it, but it would still look fantastic today. But yeah, I agree. It didn't look like any step up from God of War 2018 visually. I don't think it would have been hard to build on. Basically, I would probably say in 2018, in 2019, they were hitting the absolute top capacity of the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro. They couldn't really step it up on that console, so that might be what we were seeing there. Was the PlayStation 4 Pro performing at its absolute max? But yeah, if God of War Ragnarok 30 frames per second, you would be doing yourself a disservice.
I don't think they really need to try and upgrade the look a bit, really, because I think most people want to play it because they want to know the next chapter of what's going on with Kratos and Atreus. Like at the end where you see Thor's hammer and you're like, what? And then they leave you with that. Yeah. Like no one's going, oh, I want to see what comes next, but it better look better. Everyone just went, I just want to see what happens next.
You have not been reading my diary, clearly. On that, we'll move on to Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2 was announced. The teaser trailer came out. No gameplay. Coming out for 2023. So we're looking at about 18 months to a year. Spider-Man came out in May, I think, of 2018. So is it going to be 5 years from now? From then? Or is it going to be a summer release, a Christmas release? Christmas release would make sense, but so would a mid-year release. So, Steve, what are your thoughts?
Really liked it just because of Venom. I'm a Venom fan when it comes to Spider-Man. He's my boy. I mean, I saw you in the live chat when we were talking about when you saw that, when you heard the accent, the Russian accent, like Kraven's here and stuff. So it seems like Kraven is there in the city, just attacking Miles and Peter. And they're also, now Venom's joining the fray because he wants to give Kraven the challenge. I've got no idea what's going to happen because I'm not as deep as into the lore as you are, but I'm excited for it. Maybe there's co-op in it. I don't know. There's 2 characters.
I mean, there was quite a few villains in Spider-Man 2018, but Doc Ock was the main villain. I think probably Venom or Kraven's gonna take that mantle as a main villain. I think the symbiote itself is quite a long story, so it might be the case of potentially. I know we saw Venom while Kraven was speaking, but it might be a case of the symbiote was actually. Because usually how the stories always pan out is that there's a story with Spider-Man with a symbiote on, he then loses it, and then Venom becomes a new enemy. So it's kind of like that would span a full game, and I think it would work really well. And also Kraven is actually, I did think at the time, Kraven's not a big Spider-Man villain, but actually he is actually one of the only villains who actually killed Spider-Man, so he is quite a big deal, to be fair. What do you think, Tyler?
I think the only problem that I actually had with the first game was, and hear me out, the lack of villains throughout the story. I think throughout the story you fight, for the first 2/3, I think, you fight Shocker, and that's it until the third part. And they're like, oh, and then there's 7 other villains that you have to fight as well. Or 6.
And what's he called? Mr. Negative as well. But okay.
Yeah, you had Mr. Negative, but it was he was the villain for the entire thing. You fight Shocker about a quarter way through, and then it was like nothing until like the last third where they introduced Sinister Six. So I'm hoping in this one they kind of spread their villains out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Where they're not all at the very end. You get to have a couple of boss fights in the middle. That's the only thing that I really want from this game. Obviously, everyone's talking about co-op. Everyone's wondering, is someone able to drop in and play as Miles while you play as Peter? Or is it, controlled by the computer like it was in Arkham Knight?
I really can't see it being co-op, to be honest.
No, I can't.
I can see it. I would like to see it sort of like... I mean, there's only 2 ways they could do it, which I think they would do. Either you play part of the game as Miles, and then when you've reached a certain point, it swaps over to Peter, and you do there's different side missions available at different times. Then maybe when you finish the game, all the side missions that you missed, you can just change at the drop of a button, and you can swap them in and out. Or it's going to be like GTA 5, where you just press a button and it swaps, and you can play any of the story missions with any either character, or maybe certain story characters per character, but basically you can change characters at any time, which means that the potential for suits is just going to be out of this world. What about you, Joel? What was your thoughts?
I hope you can play as Venom. I hope they bring that back. They did it in Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Badass. Can't see it.
Even if it is like something that isn't story related, like you can only do it after you finish the story, but have him as like a playable character was like a unique set of skills.
Badass, yeah.
I think that would be a good shout. I'm just confused on who Venom is, because on the I don't want to spoil a lot of things, but we all know who the symbiote was attached to in the end of the last game. Well, so will it be Harry? Will it be Brock? Will it be Craven? Will they mix it up and Craven?
Cool.
That's what I like about Spider-Man. Is like, as someone who is an absolute, and so is you, Tyler, an absolute die-hard Spider-Man fan, I personally do not get offended when they step away from the comics. I like it when they just say, you know what, this is, and Insomniac have definitely done this. This is our Spider-Man. He's grounded in lore, but we're going to run with it because it's our version of him. And that's what every single artist, that's what every single filmmaker has done. That's what every single comic, every single book has done. So yeah, if it's different, I don't care. I'm on board with it. I've seen Venom hundreds of times done differently, and every time it's been reasonably good. So
I think if they follow the comics too much, it becomes too predictable. You kind of know what's going to happen next. It's kind of predictable in 2018 because you know eventually Octavius is going to become Doc Ock, but it does it. It always leaves you until it happens. It always leaves you with that ideal of, is he though? Yeah. Is it going to be in this game? Is it going to be now? Is it not going to be now? And then you kind of see him like slowly turning, but there's always that thought in the back of your mind of, is it really?
What I will say is quickly, is to wrap up this conversation before we move on to the next part, is if I know both of you, Tyler and Steve, have both played Miles Morales. Joel, you haven't. Miles is incredibly more powerful than Spider-Man. Not only does he have all his abilities, he has less gadgets, admittedly, but he has like this electric powers and he has stealth. Do any of you have any ideas of seeing that? How they're going to balance the combat? I have a few. Is my point.
Well, Peter's got the experience. That's the main factor in the Miles Morales. Like, he's the teacher, he's a sensei, he's got all this knowledge. He's more powerful, but he's got the experience. But honestly, again, you know more about Spider-Man than I do, but with how powerful Miles was, even at that novice stage, I don't see how he cannot surpass Peter. Like in the second game, he's got more, field experience. With all the Venom powers, I just don't see how he cannot surpass Peter. But again, I'm not an expert, so.
I think, I think you're right. I think Miles Morales is so much more. He's got so much more diversity in his powers. He's got the Venom punch. He can go invisible, so it made stealth really easy in that game. I think the only way they're going to try and balance it out in any way is to add as many gadgets as they can for Peter Parker. Like, I think you see in the trailer, he has the Iron Spider arms, which we got in the first game, but I think they need to add more stuff like that to try and make. Because in my opinion, if they say you get to go throughout the game, you get to choose which one you go as. I'm always going to go as Miles because it's just going to be so much easier. And I'd probably say more fun. I was playing Miles Morales the other night to see what it was like again, and I remember it being so much better than just playing as standard Spider-Man. Yeah.
What about you, Joel? Any ideas?
I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, obviously, I've not played Miles Morales, but I do know that he is. He's got a lot. He's got an advantage of abilities over Peter by far, especially turning invisible and the electricity and all that. But I don't know. I think the way the story may go is obviously Miles won't have the same ordeals as Peter. Miles is still a teenager. He's still, his hormones are all over the place. And I think if something bad happens, I don't think he'll take it as well as Peter would. I think he may go a bit rogue.
Yeah.
As in like revenge path rather than Peter who, looks at the greater good rather than putting himself first. And I think that may be one of the sort of deciding factors of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to predict.
I think obviously Peter is the most experienced fighter, but I think in terms of actual gameplay, that's not really going to show much at all. I think pretty much what you said is bang on. I think they're going to try and put a bit more gadgets in, probably limit Miles' gadgets, but that still won't make a great deal because you don't want to make it easier. The idea of the game is going to be Miles' abilities are up here, Spider-Man's here. The game's only this hard, so it's like if we bring Spider-Man up to here as well, then the game's just going to be easy. Whereas they kind of need to either nerf Miles a little bit. But I think what a good shout would be, obviously, we'll see more of these spider arms, which makes sense if you think of Doc Ock and how Peter worked with him in the first game. But also, I do think the symbiote might come into play, and I think potentially Peter might have the symbiote. And I think from there, that will then give him a massive versatile combat systems with the tendrils and stuff, which would definitely make him equal Miles. Yeah. But that would again only be for part of the game. So I don't know how they'll do it like post game and stuff, but I think that would be a really good shout as to how to bring Peter up to Miles' level. I think long term, Miles is going to surpass Peter.
Do you think does he surpass him all?
I don't know.
It's not in that part, right?
Well, essentially, Miles is Peter's successor.
Yeah,
he's the one that takes over in the comics whenever Peter dies.
Right.
Do you think as well that Venom will get his name in this via Miles saying something about his Venom powers? Do you think he's going to say, "Oh, do you like my Venom powers?" He's like, "Oh, Venom. I like that name. I'm going to call myself that now."
I really hope not.
That sounds very cringy.
Yeah,
but there's no way they can't have him say Venom. And Venom say
weak
Venom.
Origin story for his name.
Don't they already have their names? Yeah. Do the symbiotes already know their names anyway?
I don't know because Carnage kind of gets his name because of I can't remember to be honest, but I'm sure it's because Cassie just says he likes to cause Carnage, and that's where he gets the name from.
What about Riot?
I
didn't see him cause any riots.
But yeah,
just went out in the street.
Down with the government. I have no idea to be honest. I think it depends which story you read and stuff. Who knows? We'll move on though.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
I'm so hyped for it.
100%.
I think I'll do a shout out as well to Tony Todd. He's voicing Venom, the horror icon himself.
Oh, is he?
Don't know if you noticed. Yeah, it's Tony Todd. Yeah. He's voicing Venom.
Is he the one that voiced the Venom in the movie?
Not sure, but he's right. Candyman.
Now I know.
Yes.
Now I know.
Yeah. What I will say is that because it's a PS5, I think it's going to be PS5 released just because of the fact it's going to be 2023. I cannot see them still making PS4 first party games.
No,
I think they said on the PlayStation blog that it is PlayStation 5 exclusive, and they made that a big point in the blog.
Yeah. Let's move on anyway because we've got some more things to talk about. Let's talk about the first game that was released, which I was not expecting to see at all, which is going to be Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remastered. Steve, take us away.
This, legitimately, and I'm not lying, when I saw this come on the stream, I was jumping up and down in my chair. Legitimately, I was hopping up and down. I got a chill from
shirt off, swinging it around.
Pretty much, I was deep at the point there, but I've never had that feeling in years. I can't remember the last time I got a chill from my body, and I couldn't believe it. I was almost in shock, I can't believe what I'm seeing. As soon as I saw Revan's mask come up, I was like, holy crap, it's here. It's been 18 years.
I mean, I haven't played the first one. But I missed. I just think I was just a couple of years too young. I know it was BioShock's flagship. It was what made BioShock who they were.
It was.
It's the way, but I kind of always wish I did, and there's no debate in my mind. I'll be picking that game up.
Have you seen any spoilers for it all?
No.
Good, because here's the thing: no one search anything up about this. You want to experience it, because me as a returning fan experiencing this is going to be amazing. But apparently, according to the blog, they're not changing anything to the story. They're rebuilding it from the ground up, but keeping it literally to the story. So they don't want to disrespect it. And it's got the way I see it, because I see a lot of people disrespecting it. A lot of people like, Star Wars, I don't like it, Star Wars, whatever. And it didn't get a lot of like traction in your poll earlier, which was like, this disrespect. How dare this happen? It's like almost the lowest one. It is, because that's what I'm thinking. 18 years, maybe your audience is just a bit too young for that, possibly. I don't know. But if you liked Mass Effect, anyone, this goes to anyone, that was literally a spiritual successor to KOTOR. Same team, everything. It's almost a clone in a way. It's got the cinematic story, it's got the companions, it's got the sci-fi, it's got the alien races. It's like BioWare, like, we ain't got this license anymore. We're going to do this. So if you enjoyed that, even if you don't enjoy Star Wars, you will love KOTOR. You don't need to like Star Wars. It will suck you in.
Well, Steve sold it. Tyler, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think the only thing that I know about this game is who that person was in the trailer, but I knew that from before. I don't know who he is. I just know his name and what.
It's this guy.
What kind of
this guy,
Revan, the Jedi Knight version of Revan. You see?
So I kind of got an idea, but I think no one knew that this was coming at all. Right. And I think I was just sat there and it was a black screen, and then you hear the ba 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 ba. I was like, what? What's Star Wars? And then I saw the lightsaber. I was like, at first I thought it was going to be a Jedi Fallen Order, or it's going to be like Sith Fallen Order, or whatever it's going to be. And then it came up, and I was like, wow, okay. I've not played this game before, so I'm excited to.
I'm excited for you guys. I really am.
I thought it was actually going to be the Ubisoft game. Do you know, Ubisoft have got the license to make a Star Wars game, and I thought it might have been Bounty Hunter game, and I was like, oh well, I'm going to put the faith in them. But Joel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, same as you. I didn't play the original. I've not even watched the films. I've watched like snippets of the films, so I'm not even a Star Wars fan. Oh. But I will have to say I have enjoyed the games, most of the games up to this point. I like the Revenge of the Sith. That was really good. That was the first Star Wars game I played. I really liked that.
Yeah.
And then obviously Jedi Fallen Order was awesome. Force Unleashed was awesome. So if it's along those lines, and then like Steve said, if it's that mixed in with like Mass Effect elements, then it's definitely one that I'll want to play.
Well,
I know there's like Mass Effect has the Paragon and the Renegade. I think this one has the same, where you can kind of choose if you want to go
Jedi.
Light and Dark
Jedi. So I like that about it. There's a lot of there's variety in that, so I like that. I'll definitely play it.
It's set 4,000 years before the movies, so that's why it's the Old Republic. It's not the New Republic. And
is it canon?
It was canon until Disney bought it, and now it's a legend story. But most people consider it canon because it's 4,000 years ago, right? Who cares? They probably will make a Revan movie at some point.
Yeah.
4,000 years before, you've got hundreds or thousands of Jedi and Sith. They're both like their own separate religions. So they've got their own academies, Sith Academy, Jedi. I saw the films growing up, and I was always like, I like Star Wars, but I was never a big fan. But when I got that game in 2003 on Xbox, that made me a fan. That made me a fan of Star Wars, because you don't need to know anything about it. The game will, even the old game, it teaches you about the different religions of the Sith and the Jedi. It teaches you about all this lore, building your lightsabers, customizing your characters. It's proper RPG. The combat was really like crappy and turn-based, but you weren't playing it for that. But hopefully, like Final Fantasy VII, they can change it and make this more actiony.
Mind if they change it to Final Fantasy's combat? That'd be insane. I mean, I love turn-based, but if they made it more live, I think it would be.
I think the combat would be better if it were
top.
I don't see how they cannot make it live, because they want to make it with modern tech. That's what we were saying. Yeah, hack and slash.
Hack and slash, I think, would work better.
That sounds disgustingly unbelievable.
Like Fallen Order. Jedi Fallen Order is a combat system I really like.
Yeah, they could do something similar to Fallen Order.
If they could do something similar to that, then it would be. Even if they do the Final Fantasy one, because obviously with your powers and stuff, then that could work as well.
It'd work well.
Let's move on, because we've only got a little bit of time left. Let's talk about the last. Well, there's two big games I want to talk about next, which is. So this is a teaser. So this is again on Insomniac Games. I was not expecting this at all. I did catch on as soon as I saw the bar that I knew who it was going to be, but this guy, Wolverine teaser trailer by Insomniac. Probably only a teaser trailer in very early development. Probably going to be coming after Spider-Man, so 2024, 2025.
Set in the same universe as well, dude.
Has that been confirmed?
Yeah, by Insomniac. It's been set in the same universe. Wow. So we're going to get a crossover, I'm guessing. Have to do.
What is everyone's thoughts on that?
Dude, orgasmic. As soon as, like I said, as soon as it came on, you had, what's the song now? Dark End of the Street by James Carr and stuff, and that perfect aesthetic. And what's more important about this, I noticed, was the blood on his knuckles. It was blood, and there's clear knives, so I'm thinking, please be R-rated, like the X-Men Origins Wolverine game on PS3.
Was dirty. I think it's hard to make a Wolverine game and you're not because he's got knives for hands.
Yeah, and what
basically.
about your injuries, right? Because that was an 18 rated game, Origins, and you could see when you got injuries, you could see your rib cage and your organs coming out and just melting away and regenerating in front of your eyes. And just like, I think you could tear limbs off people, right? You could literally slice limbs
Cut
off.
them in
It
half
was-
and
Yeah.
all sorts.
yeah, exactly. It was gory as hell. That's what you need in a Wolverine game. And more
Well, it is,
importantly, Sony have got the license for this again. They own the character, so it's
He's got knives on his hands, and
yeah,
he's as angry as Kratos.
yeah.
The
Even
man's an
angrier.
absolute psycho. So making it not R-rated wouldn't do him.
And he's
any
an
justice
alcoholic.
whatsoever.
How can you not have
Yeah,
that
he's
part
an
of the game
alcoholic
and not be
as well,
18 rated?
Yeah, that's true.
Tyler, any thoughts?
It's one of those. I was really hyped for it. I thought it was genuinely. I thought it was Spider-Man when we first saw it. It was like Insomniac Marvel. I was like, oh wow, okay. And then it was Wolverine. The only thing is, how do you balance indestructible, immortal guy with knives? Like, what kind of people do you fight? If you're fighting just normal people, are you just gonna just
Aliens.
Yeah,
Well, in Origins, you fought Sentinels and stuff,
Thanos.
right? It was
Yeah.
mainly Sentinels and just
I mean-
soldiers. You didn't really get a challenge, but it was just fun. It's mindless fun, right?
That's a very valid point, Tyler. But I think at the same time, Miles Morales showed that you didn't need, because in Insomniac, the combat they make, I can't see it being too different from what we've already seen. And Miles Morales was easy, but it was still a lot of fun. So it's worth noting as well. I think the creative director from Miles Morales is currently working on this.
Yeah.
So that has led the speculation that people are saying, "Oh, is it going to be a shorter game, or is it not?"
do you think it could lead into an X-Men game?
Well, who knows?
hope so.
That would be
They own the
cool.
license. They can do it.
That would be very cool. I mean,
Eh.
yeah, no.
Sorry, I was going to say it just goes as well that PlayStation is slowly just acquiring all the rights to Marvel and telling Xbox, you want to play Marvel games? No.
Until Microsoft buy Disney, anyways. I think as
Yeah.
well, like Microsoft for the past 5 years haven't had a good first-party game, really, compared to PlayStation. So I think that's kind of where they're at. So Sony are like, well, we've made the best first-party games,
Yeah.
so give us the money. Where we put the most money into our games, we make the best story-driven games. I think obviously that's hard. I think you can't really dispute that at all, to be honest. If you played the first-party games, but that's not knocking Microsoft too much because obviously they have got good games. But their best games of late have been like Gears 5 and Halo Infinite's coming out. I mean, that's going to be an amazing game, but it's not a third-person story-driven game, is it really? But so I can see why they're getting it. Someone just texted me, which is there's no truth to this at all, so don't take this truth as for the viewers. Is that they're like, oh, do you think that maybe when Sony gave Spider-Man to Disney for the MCU, they've made some sort of trade back for the licensing for the video games? Who knows? Probably not.
I always thought that they owned the movie rights, and I think then the game rights were separate.
I don't
Again,
know.
just like you, I'm speculating. I always thought they were
Yeah,
separate,
I
but
have no
I
idea.
think Marvel are catching on to the fact that the game industry is worth more than the film industry now. And this year we're getting Guardians of the Galaxy, which was released, which we'll talk about in a moment. But then next year we're getting Midnight Suns, which is like XCOM meets Marvel. I cannot wait for that. That's my cup of tea. Then the year after we'll have Spider-Man, and the year after we'll have Wolverine. So it's kind of like this could be a case where every year we're getting a superhero game of some kind, which I am without a doubt on board for.
I think the most important thing to see on that subject is game characters will only get old if you make them old. Movies, actors are going to get old whether you want them to or not. So there's only a limited amount of time or limited amount of movies you can make. With games, you can make a character never age, and no one would bat an eyelid because it's a game.
Yeah, just like
And you have a lot more freedom of things to do. There's only so much CGI can do. Whilst in a game, you have so much freedom to do anything you want.
Yeah.
To morph the world any way you want. The thing I'm most excited about seeing Wolverine is Insomniac. If they can succeed in Wolverine the same way they succeeded with Spider-Man, I'm looking forward to the other characters and the other games that they're going to make in the future, till eventually we will have, hopefully, fingers crossed, a Marvel's Avengers, but a proper Marvel's Avengers game.
We've already had that.
Not like the one we got. The only thing I'm worried about is how they're going to do it, because obviously Spider-Man is amazing in every aspect, but the biggest thing in Spider-Man is the traversal. It's so fun to traverse a Spider-Man web swing. And
Wolverine's got a motorbike, bro.
Wolverine's
got a motorbike. Take it from Days Gone. Not the same as
Yeah, but is it the same as web swinging?
Wolverine's not a crime fighter though. This is the difference. Wolverine's not a I'm going to protect New York. I'm going to fly around.
Yeah.
I can't see it being an open world. I think it's like Wolverine's more like intimate story. He's more fighting mutants to save mutants. Is kind of how Wolverine's been. Or in Avenger stories.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping the game will be.
Yeah, something tells me it's going to be
an open world.
They'll probably just take the Kratos spin and make him look after a girl or something.
Yeah. And then touching on
like Logan.
Yeah.
Touching on what Tyler said, I think Insomniac, the way they made Spider-Man, even Spider-Man 2018, it wasn't challenging at all.
No.
But it was fun. And for characters like this, characters like Spider-Man and Wolverine, I don't think it makes sense to make them nerfed. I think it makes sense to make them overpowered because they are overpowered. I mean, you look at these guys, if they existed in our world, they'd be OP as hell.
Yeah.
They would be pretty much unbeatable. And I think Wolverine, I don't think they should nerf him at all because you can still have fun without thinking, oh, maybe I'm going to die. You can still have fun, like slicing people to bits without worrying. You know, who doesn't love going on a rampage, for example, in GTA, where you just get like a minigun and just destroy everything around you? As soon as you die, the kind of fun just ends, doesn't it? Imagine you have an unlimited health and being able to do that for as long as you wanted to. It's just fun. Cool. Just mindless fun.
I mean, the only way they can limit him is by affecting his regeneration somehow.
Yeah. Which does affect
That's the only way they can.
Which it might do, and maybe that's why he's got blood on his knuckles, because maybe he's got a slower regenerative abilities. I don't know.
They could do what they did in, was it the second Wolverine movie, where they put parasite in his lungs, whatever it was, so that he couldn't regenerate.
The Wolverine.
Wolverine. When he goes to Japan.
Oh, Japan. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Not a great film, to be honest. Let's move on because we haven't actually got that much time left. We'll move on to Forspoken. Was anybody actually hyped for this when they saw it? Because I was pretty hyped. No,
I was.
Okay, so made by Remnant, same people who made Control, and you're taking control of a new character, and she's got some. It looks to me like another superhero game. She gets taken in this like old fantasy world where there's like it's kind of like fantasy with machines and technology, that kind of that kind of utopia world sort of thing, and you're fighting people. So Steve, you weren't impressed?
Not really. I think I need to see more of it. I think there were trailers before about this. Someone mentioned it on the Discord, but this is the first I've seen of it. I mean, the open world, it looked gigantic for one, so that is slightly impressive. But I need to see more of the combat. I need to see more what this story's about to really get invested. I mean, I liked Freya's attitude. She was kind of decent, and I think it's called Cuff, right? The little 10 rings when she's got around, and that was like a really cynical attitude with him. So it was like they played well off each other what we saw. But I need to see more gameplay. Just the world itself looks vast and beautiful, but that's not enough. I need some meat, some substance.
Okay, Tyler.
No, I think it just looks like Final Fantasy 15 to me. It just looks like a really nice version of Final Fantasy 15. Not that Final Fantasy 15 didn't look nice, but this just looks like they took Final Fantasy 15 and went, let's make it bigger, let's make it faster, and let's just, I think the scenery looked beautiful. I was looking at some of the scenery when she's traversing. I was like, wow.
There was a lot. I did get the impression there was a big influence from Control, though. Like, I felt like watching it, like the combat. There's very there's a lot of cool powers at play. And although I think the traversal stuff I think the traversal looked really unique and awesome. I can get that vibe from Final Fantasy, but maybe also with a little bit of like Remnant's influence on their previous games. Joel?
I just like it because it's a new IP.
Well, that's also true. We've got support.
That's all. I just want new IPs. I like. I mean, all the games obviously up to this point, apart from Wolverine, they're technically not new IPs, and I'm really hyped for them. But I also want new blood every now and then, rather than just having sequels or remakes or remasters.
And it's important to support them because of that as well.
Yeah,
I probably will be buying it at launch.
When I first saw it, I actually thought it was like a teaser for Harry Potter, for the Harry Potter game.
Yeah,
the way it all started and stuff. And then when obviously she got teleported to this world, and obviously I'll realize, well, this is not Harry Potter. But I don't think it's a superhero. I think it's more like in the lines of like witches and wizards.
Potentially, yeah. Superpowered beings.
I
generally, when I said that, I'll probably buy at launch. I think every game we've mentioned so far, I want to buy at launch.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man, God of War, Knights of the Old Republic, Wolverine, and Forspoken all looked like big games to me.
They're all collector edition
Spider-Man
as well.
Definitely is.
Yeah.
What we'll do is I'll just mention these games because we're going to wrap things up. So also games that were also announced was Project Eve, like an anime fighting game. Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't announced, but more gameplay was shown. I think it's going to be more of the same. If you like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, you like some third-person action, it's going to be a fun experience. Alan Wake Remastered, which came out in the Xbox 360, is getting remastered.
That's coming out real soon.
Yeah, like 4 weeks' time, less than that.
That is
Less than
amazing.
that.
And finally, Uncharted, Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4 are getting a PS5 remaster. So of those, of any of those games, or anything I haven't mentioned, have any other games tickled anyone's fantasy? Sorry?
Was it called Tachia?
The
How
Cheer.
you pronounce it?
Oh, is that when you like walked into birds and stuff?
Yeah, where it opened with the Last of Us little mini game thing, Last of Us the guitar game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
basically.
looked kind of
was
little
like-
peaceful game.
Yeah, it's like a Pixar. I mean, I like the music and everything about it. It's like one of those games you want to put on at a weekend and just chill to. And just play. You just transform into animals. I think it's an open world sandbox type game. You just explore.
Yeah, it looks like a chill, relaxing
Yeah.
experience.
A nice chill game. Most likely a chill platinum to boot. So what's to complain about, right?
Anything else? Any other games for you,
There
Tyler?
was this weird horror game that Radiohead's making.
Oh, that
I
looks
thought that looked so random.
Ghostwire.
No.
No, there was like
It
a
was
50-second teaser.
Yeah.
I can't remember what
Yeah.
it's called now. There was
It was
one.
like Radiohead is making a video game, and it was like this weird horror game. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. It was like trippy.
Bizarre.
I didn't see that one actually. Must have missed that one.
Joel, any other games?
Project Eve.
Project
I'm
Eve.
looking forward to that again because it's a new IP. It's something new. I think, and it's anime. Like there's no secret. I like anime. Anything anime themed, I like, and I think the combat was really good. The combat, the hack and slash looked very,
Looks
very,
flashy.
very refined, very nice, and also she's got a nice bum, which
Well,
is
that's-
So
We've already said that before we started. What I'll just say for me was just Guardians. Obviously, I'm a Marvel sucker. I'm a bit skeptical because obviously Avengers ruined a bit for me, and
Square
there's
Enix.
been a few flops. Square Enix again,
Mm.
so that's obviously a bit of a red flag, and they've really tarnished their name with Avengers and a few other games of late. But I'm not sure if I'm going to get a launch. I might wait till I see a review to make sure that it's not a buggy mess and that it has some sort of coherent story. But I'm not expecting anything great. But the Avengers story was absolutely diabolical, to be honest. So if it was literally more of the same of Avengers, I wouldn't be happy.
It's
Hopefully-
single player as well, right? So how long is the game? You really want to know how long it is, but you don't.
You want,
Like
I mean,
70
12 to 15 hours. Well, 15 hours personally, I'll be happy with.
Yeah,
but
I think I'd wait till it's like 30 quid or something.
it probably dropped
gotta
quickly
say.
as well, like Avengers did.
Definitely.
Yeah.
hopefully it's their redemption game, the same as Fallen Order was for EA.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully this will be, what brings Square Enix back to respectable terms.
Yeah, I agree. On that, what we'll do is we'll wrap things up. If you could all give this showcase out of 10 a score, what would it be? I personally will give this a 9. I think massive hitters have been shown and also some new IPs.
Straight up to 11, dude. I can't say any more than that. As soon as KOTOR came on, that was the night for me. Every game after that was almost a letdown until I recovered from that shock.
My only criticism is
Best one I've ever done.
Yeah. No, I think it's probably one of the best. My only criticism is a lot of the big games, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and KOTOR, all didn't
Knew
show
about them.
gameplay. So that's it's a tease, but they've all just been teasers. That's why I couldn't give it a 10.
They're really far off, that's why, right?
Yeah. What about you,
Yes.
Tyler?
I'm going to say probably an 8.5. It started off real high with Star Wars, and then it didn't drop down, but my hype kind of dipped a bit because my hype was so high. Then it went high again. And then at the end with Wolverine, Spider-Man, and God of War, I think, as you said, there just wasn't a lot of gameplay. They could have shown a little bit more of some of the stuff, I guess. Like, we're seeing more. The things that got me hyped the most was like those 50-second trailers. And the fact that 50-second trailers are getting me more hyped than some of the big ones. I think and they're showing Deathloop again, and I was like, oh, yes, Deathloop again.
They're really pushing it. They're really hoping for it to be a success.
Oh, yeah.
I think more with casual gamers it will be. Joel,
It looks-
what about you?
I'd say a 9. That's it. It's not perfect, but it gave us a bit snippets of what we want to see, because everybody wanted to see an update on all these games, and it gave us new IPs. And I think having both of those together, I think it's a success in my eyes. I think developers need to experiment more in new IPs rather than play it safe and just do remakes or remasters of old games that were successful in the past. Just make new games. Take a leap.
Once you all play KOTOR, you'll understand why I'm so excited about this.
I'm really
you
hyped for
need.
it.
You'll know why.
I think you're overhyped. Man.
Hell no. Hell. Why would I do such a thing?
What I'll do is I'll quickly end by saying I did a quick poll this morning just to see what everyone else was thinking, what the most anticipated game was. And the most anticipated game was God of War Ragnarok, with 40% of people who voted on my poll, with about 500 people at the time, said God of War, then Spider-Man 27%, Wolverine 18%, Star Wars Remaster, Knights of the Old Republic 12%, and then Forspoken was a 3%. There's some big games being announced. Sorry, Steve. So on that, what we'll do is wrap things up. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll leave the links to all three of these gentlemen's details, Twitter, YouTube's down below, and let us know what your thoughts are on the showcase and what your most anticipated game was. Take it easy.
Later,
Bye-bye.
guys.